Okay, it's on.
Hi, my name is Heidi. Welcome to Undead Yarns. Well, I guess I could just start with a little introduction. I just started dyeing and selling yarns on Etsy, and I've always wanted to podcast, so I thought I would start. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I have 3 dogs, and I've been married for 15 years. Back in 2006, I was looking for a hobby, and the first thing I started with was scrapbooking. And I really enjoyed it, but it sure took up a lot of time. Every page that I made would take me at least an hour or so to put together. And I found that if I didn't schedule it, I wouldn't do it. So another thing I tried was art journaling, and right now I have no idea where my art journal is. But if I ever come across it, I'll show you guys some of the things that I did in that. And the next thing that I did, another thing I tried was I tried polymer clay. And I really did like doing polymer clay, but it's not exactly the most portable thing. I made a bunch of beads, and I never got around to putting them into jewelry. I did enjoy it, like I said. These are my favorite ones because they look like sushi. But that didn't last very long either. And then one day I was at Tuesday morning looking around, and I saw a How to Knit book, and I picked it up, and I thought, oh, well, I'll try to knit. Well, I looked at the book, and I tried to learn the long tail cast on from the book, but I couldn't figure it out. So what I decided to do was try the knit cast on, and that's the one that I always use, and I still to this day do not know how to do a long tail cast on. But then that's where my fiber addiction started. I started knitting everything. I loved to knit. And then the next thing I did after I started knitting was I started to try to spin. And this was my first, I just found this. I'm surprised I still have it because I was so disappointed in it. This was my first hand spun. It looks like dreadlocks. Look at that. I was so disappointed in the first time that I spun, I almost never did it again. So I put my spindle away, and then I started again and again. And finally, I ended up taking a couple of classes about spinning on a spindle. And eventually I got it. So then I thought, okay, well now I'm going to try to learn how to spin on a wheel. And I was lucky that my local yarn shop, the Lucky You, had classes on spinning, and they let you try out different wheels. So I had the chance to try out a bunch of different wheels before I settled on the one that I wanted. It was really great because she would let you rent the wheel while you were taking the class, and you could spin, you could take the wheel home for a week. And I think it was about 3 or 4 week class, so each week I got to bring home a new wheel. And the last one I brought home is the one that I ended up buying, was the Kromsky Sonata, and that is my wheel. I'm not going to go into too much of what I'm knitting right now, but in the future I will. What I started doing after that is I also learned how to crochet, and then this past year I started Kool-Aid dyeing. And this was my first try at kettle dyeing with food coloring. And I love yellow, so I made 3 yellow skeins, and I'm probably going to eventually make a sweater out of this. Probably be like a short cardigan because it's bulky and it's not a lot of yardage. I think that I used Universal Yarns Deluxe when I did this. So I will show you my most recent finished object. My most recent finished object is these socks. And I made those out of Araucania Milodon. And I've never seen this colorway or this yarn anywhere except for the one place that I found it. If anybody knows if they still sell this yarn, let me know, because I really enjoyed this one. These are boot socks. And then my latest finished object in spinning is some singles. And you can see that my spinning has gotten better, so don't despair if you have trouble when you first learn spinning. This is Fiber Nymph Dye Works. I think it was some BFL and silk. And it came out really thin. And this one I'm actually going to keep as a single, and I'm probably going to use it to make a shawl, because I just love these colors, and yellow is one of my favorite colors, you can probably tell. And I also have recently finished plying something for Tour de Fleece, and that is over here on my skein winder. And right now I measured it. I have 85 yards of this, and this is Knit Picks. They're the roving that they sell. I think it's in the salsa colorway. I guess what I'd like to do next is talk about some of my favorite video casts. I actually bought a skein of yarn and got in the mail some yarn from Jinx Yarns, and she actually has a podcast called The Dyer's Notebook, and that is my favorite podcast. I watch it every week, and it's one of the ones I watch when it first comes out. She's given a lot of tips on dyeing, and I've really learned a lot from watching her podcasts. So if anybody is interested in learning more about acid dyes and different dye techniques, I really recommend that podcast. She gives a lot of information, and she has a lot of really beautiful yarns. She has an Etsy shop, and you can look her up at jinxyarns.com. And then I also this week got some other stuff from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. She's also another podcaster that I enjoy watching. Hers is 90% knitting, and she talks about her knitting, and she also shows you what's going to be coming up in her dye pots in the upcoming weeks. And then I would have to say my other favorite podcast is Sock Bunny Knit and Fit. I really enjoy watching her. She really makes me laugh, and she also sells yarn. It's funny, my favorite podcasters, most of them do sell yarn. But she's really great. If you haven't watched her, you should give her a chance. She right now is talking about sock extravaganza, so for the next couple of months she's going to be knitting socks, and she has a lot of contests going on around that, so I would check her out. And I have one more video podcast that I really like to watch, and it's called Heartland Knits, and Vicki is a really prolific knitter. She has knit the Lyra from Niebling, which I would love to knit, but I have never, I haven't attempted it. I have pattern, but I haven't attempted it. But that's like my holy grail of knitting project that I would love to do. And she's tried all kinds of different things. She's done bohus knitting and Fair Isle knitting and lace knitting. And I believe that in the past she also put out some patterns. And I believe her name is Vicki. So those are my favorite podcasts that I like to watch, my video podcasts. Next time I'll probably talk about some of the audio podcasts I like to watch. What I'm going to do next is show you guys some of the stuff that I've been dyeing and that's up in my shop. I actually have some other things that I haven't put up in the shop yet, but those are going to be coming probably next week. So let me show you first my favorite one, which I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but this is my favorite. This colorway is called Purple Vein, and This is in a fingering weight, and it's got purples and blacks and a bright fuchsia pink, and I just love this. This is my favorite one. And I also have, this is my second favorite. This one is called Zombified, and it reminds me of zombies in The Walking Dead, and its name comes from a song that some of you might have heard before. And then I also have some with more subtle, this one is one of the more subtle colorways. This one is called Loch Ness, and it has greens and blues and grays, and it's named after the Loch Ness Monster. And I have a couple more I'm going to show you. This one is called Dragon, and it reminds me of all the colors that you might see in a dragon or in the fire of a dragon. I love to watch Game of Thrones, and The Hobbit's a great movie that I enjoyed. I like reading things about dragons also. Right now I'm in the middle of Brissinger, and that is one of the books that is part of the Aragon series. And I've been listening to that on tape in the car, and that's another dragon book that I like. And let's see, I'm going to show you two more colors. This one is called Eye of Sauron, and this one has oranges and yellows and browns. And there may be a little hint of purple in there somewhere. And all of these are available in fingering weight. Some of them are available also in DK weight. Here is my last colorway I'm going to show you. This one is called Little Red Riding Hood, or The Big Bad Wolf Ate Little Red Riding Hood. And here is it before I reskeined it, and this is what it looks like reskeined. And this one is reds and blacks, and it did not come out quite the way that I wanted it to, so there will be another version. I'm calling this one Part 1, because it's not quite as, there's not quite as much black or purple in it as I wanted. And so, I guess with that, I'm going to wrap up the podcast. And I will show you, right here, I have one of my little pets sitting with me. This one is Bella. And I'm going to sign off by saying, get busy living or get busy dying.